Does Facebook have a problem with a talent show that features all blind and visually impaired performers? In this episode of the I Can't See You podcast, I'll talk about the issues with Facebook in promoting the event, as well as shopping for an accessible washer and dryer.
From Studio C, welcome to the I Can't See You podcast with David. He can't see, but he's got a lot to say and a face for radio.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 91 of the I Can't See You podcast. My name is David, at David Benj on all the socials. I really appreciate you joining me for today's episode. And remember, please connect with me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm growing my Instagram by about 80 or 90 in the last couple of months, and I appreciate all the new followers. And hopefully I will be taking some more pictures. There really hasn't been a lot to take pictures of lately, but I'm sure as we start getting things together in this house and as well as moving into the new house, we will start taking a lot of photos as we document the stuff we're going to do in the basement over there where Studio B will reside in that house and some other things that are going on. But again, I do appreciate you joining me for episode 91. Today's episode will be known as the Österreich episode. For those of you not familiar in English, Österreich is Austria. And in 1991, Liz and I went to Austria on a trip conducted by Fleming Companies. My dad, when he was in business, his main supplier was Fleming. And what Fleming was a supermarket supplier of most things, not meats, although they may have had some companies that they at some point or in time or another bought, one of the meat packing places out in the Midwest. But Fleming, he did not buy from for meats, but for most of the groceries, actually for all of the groceries, and a few other things, Fleming was the supplier. And each year they would run a trip to places. Now, when my mom and dad were in business, they usually went to the islands or Mexico and things like that. But as time went on, they started going to other places. And in 1991, the trip was to Austria. And my dad wasn't in business then. I was in business, but I had a West Coast video store. That didn't qualify because we didn't get anything from Fleming. However, one of the people that worked for my dad and then at that time owned a store was able to buy a trip. And again, you don't buy a trip. Usually there are credits from buying a certain number of, dollar amount of items, of product or specific items, not really too different from when you go to the store and you get certain points for this and certain points for that. And then you could buy gas with it or, get dollars or cents off gas, whatever that is. Well, this guy wasn't going to use his trip, and whether he got it for free or not, my parents paid the guy for the trip, and the trips were always first class, and that was what was great. I mean, we flew from Philadelphia into, I want to say we flew into Frankfurt and then went to Salzburg in Austria via coach, and then hung out in Salzburg for a few days and then went over to Vienna. And then Liz and I extended the trip and went into, I guess it was still Czechoslovakia. I don't know if it had actually dissolved into the two at that point, but we went through Bratislava and then into Prague for a day trip. I'd like to say a 4-hour tour, but I think it was longer than that. And that was really a cool trip. We really enjoyed it there. If you've never been to Austria, that's a great place to go. Friendly people, lots to do, beautiful scenery. So episode 91 is Österreich. So let's get into it. I've got a couple of things to talk about today. The first one being something, we'll go over stuff about the house and things shopping. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is Believe You Can, and that is the event that the Keystone chapter of the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania is putting on. The date of the event is the 17th of October, 2020, so just about 6 weeks away. And What it is, it's a talent show that will showcase blind and visually impaired folks doing things, dance, musical performances, singing, and again, none of these I can do. There'll be a dramatic performance or two. A couple of folks are doing spoken word. So it will be, for the most part, live. I believe there's one or two folks that are going to pre-record something. We're trying to get them to do it live, but I don't know that everybody's going to be live. We have about 20 acts. And the reason I'm bringing it up, and I know I brought it up before, and I will probably bring it up again, a couple of us on the Keystone Chapter board have tried to post on Facebook with a link to BelieveYouCan.live, which is where you go to buy tickets. And it goes against Facebook's community standards as spam. Not quite sure. I don't know if it's because we all tried to post it on the same day. Not 100% sure. But I will post the flyer on the show notes page of this. And again, if you go to BelieveYouCan.live, you can buy tickets. They're only $10 for an individual ticket, $25 for a watch party ticket. So if you're going to get together with family and friends, if it's safe in your area to do that, the watch party ticket is only $25. And again, it's going to be, this year it's virtual. We're hoping in years to come it will be actually on a stage. Now, the cool thing about it being virtual this year is that folks from all around the state, and there may be a person or two from outside of Pennsylvania, but I believe most of the people who are performing are from Pennsylvania. And it enables them, for example, I know one of the people signed up is from Pittsburgh, and she's going to be singing. If we were doing it on stage, I don't know that they would make the trek across the state of Pennsylvania to perform there. We'll have to see if we can do it, on a stage next year if she does. And that would, I guess that would really be up to her parents because she is only 13 or 14 years old. So again, if you were interested, BelieveYouCan.live, you can purchase tickets. And there will be cash prizes for first, second, and third place finishers. Each person who buys a ticket can vote, and when you vote, we're going to tally the top vote getter. Obviously, wins top prize, and then so forth and so on. I'm not sure what we're going to do in the event of a tie, but we'll have to discuss that at an upcoming meeting for that. But again, it should be a good time. I will be one of the hosts. So it will be video and audio, so you'll get to see me as well. And I don't know if that's a good thing. I put out a video yesterday. If you're on Facebook or even have any idea, want to take a look at the video, you don't even have to be my friend on Facebook because I released the video. It's for public consumption. So facebook.com/DavidBenge, and you can see that video. If you're doing it within a reasonable amount of time of this being released on the 10th of September, it should be the first thing you see, other than if it's right after. I guess you'll see this podcast and then you'll see that. But go ahead and check it out. You can see my video. There will be a flyer that like I said, I'll post on the show notes page. And because of COVID, we haven't been able to do any kind of fundraising, and this kind of will be a way for us to raise money. So it helps us do what we want to do with St. Lucy's Day School, which is a school that we sponsor a lot of things for the kids. It goes first through eighth grade. Blind kids, I don't remember how many there are, somewhere between 25 and 40. I want to say closer to 40, but I don't remember the exact number. And each year we do a holiday party for them where each kid gets a gift. And last year, Liz and I were the ones that got to go up there and sit through their story time and watch the kids open their gifts. And we actually brought cupcakes too from there's a place not too far from here that we brought cupcakes, and it's not the St. Lucy's is not close to us here. It's probably about 30 miles away. But the kids enjoyed the cupcakes, except for that one kid who was in the principal's office for being bad. And it was just great to see the kids get excited for their gifts and the cupcakes. And then each spring at graduation, each one of the eighth grade graduates gets a gift from us at the Keystone Chapter. And I want to say it's a $25 gift card for Amazon. and of course they like they like that as well. So that enables us to this Believe You Can is something that helps fund that. Because we haven't been able to go out and do fundraising. Our chapter president Harriet could sell just about anyone M&Ms. In fact, I watched her one day sell them to someone who was diabetic. And I am not kidding. He said after he bought 5 bags of it, he said, "Oh, I'll have to give these to somebody because I can't eat them. I'm diabetic." That helps. Helps us raise money for that, and we do some other things throughout the community. Sometimes money goes to funds that support white canes for folks through the National Federation of the Blind. They have a fund that each year we donate to that enables people to get white canes for free. And again, that's, for those who don't know it, a white cane to a blind person is basically independence and gets them out. And even when a person like myself has a little bit of sight, and again, I don't have enough sight to feel confident to go out without it, but it enables other folks to know that, okay, this person who's coming towards me with that white cane can't see. And, makes those folks aware also, not just helping the blind person get to where they're going. So again, the event is called Believe You Can 2020. And you can buy tickets at believeyoucan.live. That's LIVE. And tickets are only $10 or $25, depending on if you're buying an individual ticket or a watch party ticket. And I would really appreciate the support, and thank you in advance for that. And I'm looking forward to, I'll be hosting, like I said, with Harriet, who is the chapter president, and Lisa, who is the secretary of the chapter, and who actually, along with Simon, another board member who's only 18, Simon and Lisa were actually just on an episode of Blind Abilities, interviewing someone who does acting classes for blind folks, and to help blind folks, get more roles in Hollywood or on stage. She also does voice acting and things like that, and I kind of have a little bit of an interest in that. And back in the day, I actually did took a voice acting class in Philadelphia, and I don't think I finished that class, but I've always been interested, obviously, in doing voice work more on, like I would say, like this, where it's more of a news or talk type of thing as opposed to acting. Maybe I can act, maybe I can't. I don't know, and I don't remember how I did in that class. It was just it was at night, and it was in Center City, Philadelphia, so it wasn't easy to get to for me. And like I said, I don't remember if I finished or not. I don't think I did. But listen to Simon and Lisa talk on the Blind Abilities podcast. It's a few episodes ago. I'll link to it in the show notes. They did a great job, and Lisa did a great job with that. And I've been trying to prod Lisa to get her own podcast started, and or even just a blog. So she's got a great voice for it, and I think she would do very well at it. And she's just worried there's just too many blind people doing podcasts. She doesn't know where her voice would come out. But, everybody has their own voice and their own issues they want to talk about. And again, I just think it would be, would be a good show. Whether you folks would be interested in or not, I don't know. Just like I don't know that you would be interested in anything that Blind Abilities plays, because, again, that's more geared to blind folks, not like last week's guests, Carrie and Brian, who are trying to educate, like I am, sighted folks about blind folks. So, again, believeyoucan.live. Please go purchase tickets. I appreciate it. And so does the rest of the Keystone chapter. And I guess that's all I have to say about that, as Forrest Gump would say. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, as you've heard over the last few weeks, we bought a house and we settled in less than a week on the 15th of September. So one of the things that we needed is a washer and dryer, because the current occupants, the owners, are taking their washer and dryer with them. And, we're okay with that. wasn't a deal breaker for us, and we figured we'll get the model that we want. And that's one of the things that we're kind of looking forward to. Right now we don't have a washer and dryer in our unit. They're not allowed in the condo. Each floor has a laundry room. So it kind of makes it difficult, especially now with Liz back in school, with the amount of time that she has to go and do wash. There are what's called quiet hours here. So you can't do wash. You can't do anything that's loud after 11 p.m. And you can't start until after 7 a.m. Liz gets up early, and, she'd be able to get a load of wash done before anything else happened, because she gets up in the 5 o'clock hour. On the weekends, it used to be 5:30, but I think she gets up at 5:15 every morning. So that's a time where she could go and do wash, before the day really got started. So it'll be nice once we get into the house where she can do wash whenever. And even when we were living in media, there were some times that she would forget to do wash and she'd throw a load in late in the evening. And then I would either transfer it to the dryer if it was stuff that went in there, or like most of the stuff, I'd hang up on the drying racks, to dry, because it didn't matter. I could take the stuff out. The issue was, me actually doing the wash because of the machine itself and not being able to see what settings and so forth and so on. So one of the things that I was looking forward to, because she works, long hours, at least 3 days a week, and, even on the days when she doesn't work, 10 or 11 hours a day, because she does extended day those days. Obviously she doesn't want to rush home on one of her shorter days where she gets home by, 3:30, 4 o'clock. And then have to, worry about dinner or worry about doing the wash. And it'd be great if I could do some of that stuff. And again, today I'll be putting tonight's dinner in and getting that started. She'll probably be home in time to, check it and whatnot. So if I were able to do wash without having to say, hey, remember we need this or we need that, it would be nice, and I'd feel happy that I could help out in that way. So with this opportunity to get a new washer, the new washers, a lot of them have touch screens, which, I don't know what's on them. And, short of having to use either an app on my phone or, call somebody and use FaceTime and say, hey, what does this say? It's hard for someone who's blind or visually impaired to use a touch screen on a device. And that's one of the things that when we were in Washington the last 2 years with the NFB and lobbying Congress, that was one of the things that on the agenda to take care of any household appliances, that are not accessible to blind folks. And again, washers, dryers, microwaves, ovens and stoves, stovetops. A lot of them, even if they're not a touch screen, some of them have buttons that are not raised, that are flush, and you really have no idea. It's not like you can feel for a button that's sticking out and you push it and get it to work. And there are little workarounds for some things with these things called bump dots, but it's still not 100%. It just would be easier if there were actual buttons that you pushed in that were. Okay, I know the third button. And like our dishwasher, has a dial and has 2 buttons. I know I don't need to touch the one button. I only need to touch the other one, or just make sure the other one's pushed in. We never change it. So that one's easy for me to use. But our dishwasher here is probably older than the kids. So, it was back before touch screens and flush mount buttons and whatnot. So when we started looking, we thought, okay, great, we can look around, we'll get something that I can operate. And, again, it would take some of the burden off of Liz, and, I'd be able to help out around the house a little bit. And so what we've settled on, it seems, are 2 units, washer and dryer from, I think it's LG. I don't remember. I want to say it's LG. Because they're not hooked up in the store, we're not 100% sure there's not a touch screen aspect to the washer. We didn't look at the dryer. We don't use the dryer much. We use the dryer for socks and underwear because, or towels as well. Everything else gets hung on drying racks, and people are always amazed when they see us wearing a T-shirt they bought us 20 or 30 years ago, and they're like, "Wow, I didn't I give you a shirt like that?" And yeah, that's the one you gave me. And they're like, "Oh my God, it's still not frayed and full of holes and whatnot." So hanging stuff up, obviously, I can do. So we looked at the washer, and like I said, there was a panel on it that was probably the size of a 3x5 card, so I guess 3x5. And because it's not plugged in, I don't know 100% if it didn't just give stats there or if there were actual buttons there. Obviously, a washing machine also has a dial. And that is something that's obviously a lot easier to use. Just like our dishwasher here, I know I just, once I load everything up and I put the pellet in to, with the soap, I close it, I lock it, I turn the dial very slowly, clockwise until I hear it click on, and I'm done. Even I can't mess that up. Obviously making sure the right button is pushed, but it should be because no one else touches it, the dishwasher, but me. So, so that's how that, works. And I'm hoping that washing machine was the same, and maybe just that 3x5 area was where it would say how much time was left, what cycle it's on. And again, I'm not 100% sure, and I haven't looked into it. We have a lot of things going on, so I haven't looked into it that much because we're pretty set on that. And we ended up doing, looking through Consumer Reports to see which ones would be the best ones to get. And we had, at our old house, a year or two before we moved, our washing machine crapped out and we had to get a new one. So we got one of the front loaders, and Liz hated it. She absolutely hated it. I liked, when she ran the wash, it was kind of cool because she would turn the dial and it sounded like she was playing a video game. I don't know if that was to make her feel like she was playing a video game and it made it fun to do wash. I'm not 100%. But she hated it. The clothes were, were always all bundled up and tied up. It seemed like it was rough on the clothes. And a lot of times she thought it felt like they still had soap in them. So she wanted to get a top loader. Now, the top loaders with the agitator on Consumer Reports, none of them had outstanding scores. So I said, look, if we're going to get the top loader, we're going to get the high efficiency ones. And again, she was okay with that. And I think that's the kind they actually have here at the condo unit, because there's not the thing in the middle that has the, at least I don't think there is. I have to, now I don't remember. But the high efficiency ones there were probably 4 to 6 that were in the, the good zone or the, Best Buy zone, whatever you want to call it. So we looked at those, and she liked the one, and so we'll get that one, and we'll get the dryer pairing with it. Again, when we move, we're going to actually have electric and natural gas in our house, which is what we had in our other house. Here we only have electric stuff like that. So like our cooktop is electric, which I just haven't gotten used to. I'm always afraid I'm going to put my hand down on it because, obviously I can't see if it's on or not. With the gas top range stovetop, obviously I can see the flames. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that. And but with the washer and dryer, the dryer would be a gas dryer. I think we're going to get a rebate from our electrical supplier for that, or for a gas supplier for that. It's the same company. It's called Pico in this area. So the one cool thing with both of them, they're both Wi-Fi enabled. So we're hoping, and again, I haven't looked into it since we looked at them over the weekend at whatever store we were in. I want to say Lowe's. If it could, I could look at the, use my iPhone and, pull up all the information and start a cycle, and VoiceOver works on the app. And again, every app is a crapshoot, for being compatible with VoiceOver. It depends on, what the programmers do when they make the app. If they make it accessible, then VoiceOver works and I can use it, 100%. Not every app, even when it's got some VoiceOver compatibility, is not 100%. Even some of the good ones aren't 100%. I was calling someone today. Somebody had texted me a phone number for a person who's going to come and help us. She helped us stage the other house. In this house, she's just going to give us some ideas of what to do in our kitchen here and our bathrooms here. Those were both items that we thought this summer we were going to remodel, because again, we weren't expecting we were going to move. And so we were going to remodel both our bathrooms and our kitchen. Obviously, now that we're moving, we're not going to spend the same amount of time and detail on remodeling them as we would have had we been here to use them. So we want to do what we can to make it look nice, but not do the next step to make it for us. It's going to look good. We're, probably get new vanities because these vanities are old. The plumbing, both things drain very slowly. And the plumber, when we first moved in, had told us, if you really want to make sure the drains work, you're going to have to pull the vanity out and, probably, redo some of the plumbing here. So obviously if we get new vanities, we can do that and then everything will run great. The vanities here, at least one of them is probably the original. Maybe get new toilets, not 100% sure on that. Fix up some tile work in one of the bathrooms, the other bathroom, just heavy duty clean it. And so when this person comes and tells us, but when I wanted to call her today, I couldn't, most times if you're sighted, you get it, somebody texts you a phone number, you tap it or double tap it, whatever it is, and it calls. I couldn't get it to work with VoiceOver. I had to shut off VoiceOver, and I knew where the text was in relationship of the screen, so I just tapped it or double tapped it, whatever it is. I guess I tapped it, and I connected to her. And then once I tapped it, I had to triple tap to turn VoiceOver back on, and then follow whatever it said on the screen. And I guess it said call whatever the number was or cancel, because I couldn't read it. So it gets frustrating like that. So if the app for the the washing machine and the dryer is, pretty accessible, that would be great, because then I could still make the settings on the phone. I guess somebody could also hack and make all our white stuff turn pink and whatnot. And of course, I could probably do that on my own without any help from somebody else. So that's what we've been up to with, looking around for things for the house. For example, our dining table that we've had since, I want to say 1994-ish, 93. It's too big, so we're going to sell it, and, we have to get something new. So we've been looking there. We've been looking around at furniture stores, and, it's interesting because where we live in Pennsylvania, we're very close to Delaware. We looked at a furniture store in Pennsylvania one day, and we walked in. They had to take our temperature, and we walked around, and we actually had to wait to go in. There was a limit, and which was kind of funny because it was a fairly big store, and it didn't seem like there were a lot of folks in there. We went into another store that was just over the Pennsylvania-Delaware line, and we walked in, a guy greeted us and said, yeah, have a look around, blah, blah, blah. Dining sets are all scattered throughout. They didn't have one certain area for them. And so we just kind of wandered around the store. And then there was IKEA, which we went to. Jane had seen something that she thought she wanted to get for her room here that she could then use, once she goes back to New York. We went to IKEA on Labor Day, and it was jammed. It was so jammed. Now, those places are huge if you've never been in them. And I've since found out that in other countries, some of them are not as big. In fact, they're, a small fraction of what they are here in the U.S. But on average, I want to say each store in the U.S. is close to 300,000 square feet. That's quite a big size store. Just so you know, a supermarket that's a pretty decent size is probably between 60 and 80,000 square feet. I know some of the Wegmans in this area are close to 100,000 square feet. And I'm guessing Walmarts are in that same ballpark. So just imagine, so that's 3 times the size. But this place was jammed, and there was no one guiding. Okay, there's too many people in this area, or there's too many people in that area. So there's me wandering around because, not wandering. I was with Liz and Jane, and you follow that road all the way through, to get from, one end of the showroom to the other. And people are looking around, and because there's so much stuff in the store, people are looking around, not really paying attention to other people, and me not being able to see them. Liz was constantly saying, "Oh, watch, come to your right, come to your left, whatever." And it was just, I couldn't wait to get out of there. I just couldn't wait to get out of there. And, we're wearing gloves in there, and it just, none of that. And, I don't know how you feel, but none of that is, enjoyable. Like going into a store anymore is, to me is so stressful. I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to run. I'm always afraid I'm going to run into someone again because I don't see them coming. I might not hear them coming. Liz wears these flip-flops, which is great because when she wears them, I can walk behind her and I hear them. And, the only issue I have is sometimes, I might hit her with the cane on the heel if I get too close. So I try not to get too close, or if I know that I'm directly behind her, I won't do the sweeping part and just try to keep the cane up, and just hold it so, it's not tapping and, she's not going to hit it. But, sometimes she has to stop and, I don't know straight away. And, sometimes I either hit her with the cane or actually run into her. But yeah, it just was not enjoyable walking around that store looking for stuff. And we looked at a few other things. Jacob's going to need a couple of things for his room. And, we're not looking to break the bank on his stuff because, again, he's probably going to move out once everything settles down, and maybe before things settle down. He's interested and been looking with a friend. They've just been looking in the wrong spots for Jacob. He needs to be, like I told you when we figured out we were going to buy a house, he's got to be near a Target that he could transfer to. And because he doesn't drive, he can't be, too far off of, public transport. And, some of the places they were looking were, not close to public transport, or where he would have to take, 2 different forms of public transport to get to a Target. And, there are times where he only has a 4-hour shift and it would take him over an hour to get to work. So you're going to spend 2 hours commuting for a 4-hour shift is just nuts. So hopefully he'll find something, and, I know he'll be happy, and, he's looking forward to that day. But again, I don't know how soon that day will come. And hence, same thing with Jane, she's looking forward to getting back to New York once it's safe. And, we bought the house because we don't think that's going to be for a while, whether that was the right move. It's the right move because we're going to have a backyard and we're going to be able to get a grill and do that. And we're going to have, I'm going to have an office that when we bought this condo that we're in, this apartment, it's a 3-bedroom condo. We thought, okay, well, the kids are going to move out. We can turn one of the bedrooms into an office that may also have a bed in the corner that, when one of the kids comes home to visit, and I'm guessing I'm thinking of Jane because, Jacob is not looking to move out of the area. There'd be a bed for them at least, and a place to stay. And that was always our intention, was to have a bedroom for each kid. And so they could come back whenever they wanted, or needed. And in this case, Jane came back because she needed to. And, we're happy that she's working from here and not from New York with all the craziness that's going on, not just with the COVID, but with the unrest and the crime. The crime has just been brutal. And I'm just hearing stories both on the news and from personal accounts from folks, either podcasts that I listen to or other folks that we know just nuts. Just some of the things that are just so crazy that it just seems almost upside down the way things are going, and how the bad folks seem to have have it in their favor at this point. I heard a story about a lady who got punched in the mouth by a guy, knocked to the ground. Some firefighters, this is in New York, firefighters were there, saw it happen. They ran after the guy. They tackled him, waited for the police to come. Police arrested him, took him to jail. He had one hearing. Bail was set at 20 grand, which of course you pay 10%. So that's 2 grand. Then he had another hearing a few days later and was released on his own without posting any bail. So, what's to stop that guy from doing that again? And, it just doesn't make sense to me. So it is kind of crazy up there. And, I'm hoping that Jane doesn't have to go back into the city for quite a while. And I'm betting next summer, but, maybe it'll be sooner. We'll have to wait and see. So it'll be nice to have the house and, to get these things that will make it a little easier for us, as well as, knowing that I could go outside and, do things without, anybody else, having to worry about somebody coming down the hallway and, worrying about, hey, does somebody have a shopping cart in front of their door? And, maybe I'm taking trash out. And when I take the trash out, as I've mentioned, I don't use my cane because, I have to switch hands back and forth because it's heavy, or I carry it with 2 hands if my hands are really bothering me from the psoriatic arthritis. And if the weather's bad outside, I walk down the hallway on the first floor because the dumpster's at the other end of the building. And then I walk outside, so I'm not walking out in the rain or snow or whatever. So if somebody's got a shopping cart out, I'll run into it because I most likely won't see it because I have, and that's why I started using the cane when I walk around the building. So it'll be nice for all that, but it's nice looking for things that, will be more accommodating to me. Again, the washer and dryer, the stovetop, some other things, in a house that you don't get when you live in an apartment. The extra bugs because some people are neater than others, things like that. So that's where we're at. Oh, and one other thing, I've mentioned about a dog, and we still don't have the lead on one. However, I have finally been in contact with a couple of breeders. One of them is trying to get their dog pregnant, and I found out that a golden retriever spends about 63 days pregnant. So it seems crazy, right? 63 days and boom, you have another dog. So hopefully mid-November something will happen with that. Also, we found out there's a rescue that's got I don't know if it's a foster place in Chester County, or if it's an actual offshoot of this, but it's from South Carolina. I don't know. I haven't investigated enough, and Jane has been too busy at work to investigate it enough, whether South Carolina is a puppy mill problem like Lancaster and other places in Pennsylvania. We checked out a couple of places in Lancaster, and anybody that said, hey, this place seems okay. Is it any good? And, just look at where it's located, the person, said, and, it's based in Pennsylvania. More than likely it's a puppy mill place. So obviously not interested in something like that. So we continue to look, but we're hopeful that the rescue that where the place is someplace in Chester County, I want to say Westchester, which isn't too far from here, about 15, 20 miles. And that at that point we'd take, they had a black lab puppy or a couple of puppies. We'd be okay with that. And, so we'll continue to look. Obviously, like I said, our first choice is a golden retriever, and hopefully that will happen. But if you know anything about South Carolina and dogs, let me know. Give me a call, 646-926-6350, or you can shoot me an email, ican'tseeyouPodcast@gmail.com. Remember, I can't see you sounds like a whole sentence, but it is only 7 letters, ICANTCU podcast@gmail.com. Show notes, as always, are available at ican'tseeyou.com. And this one will be episode 91, as I said. So ican'tseeyou.com/091. And again, unofficially, it's the Österreich episode. I really appreciate you listening today. Please make your way over to BelieveYouCan.live. Purchase a ticket for this year's virtual talent show. Hopefully in years to come, like I said, it will be on a stage somewhere in the greater Philadelphia area. And I appreciate that in advance. As always, there's all sorts of links on the page, on the website for affiliate links if you're buying at Amazon and so forth. I'd appreciate if you use those links there. And I do appreciate you listening. I hope you're staying safe. I hope the end of your summer was better than the beginning. It was a very weird summer. Please continue to stay safe and be well. And I'll talk to you next week with a great episode name.
Thank you for listening to the I Can't See You podcast. Follow David on Twitter. He is at David Benj.